We had 7 days at sea to dive 3 wild locations in Zanzibar, hoping to find the biggest predators. The goal was to dive the iconic Latham Island. Little did we know how that would turn out. Then Pemba, a new place for us that has giant doggies, and the first stop of our journey, an old secret spot that we explored for 1 day last year with great results. And now, with the blessing of the village, we were back to explore it properly and bring Patrice, a good friend and guest on this journey, with Eric Allard, the guide, and me, to document and guide on this adventure. When you travel, this is not the weather you look for. On trips with short windows, you always want to maximize your time. But ironically, no matter how much you want things to happen one way, traveling often teaches that your desires have little impact on the outcome. The bad weather cut our day in half, so we committed to the incoming tide in the afternoon. This eerie vibe was actually suiting to set up the scene for a place that holds deep water monsters.
We are unloading the car. Yep. And the tide is too low, so we need to walk towards a small boat that's gonna get through the reef, and then we're gonna get into a speedboat.
A quick drive would lead us to the area in 15 minutes, but we were missing something.
All the GPS spots.
You're like,
the
look
secret
at
spots.
Look
Oh, that's awesome!
look at this guy, I mean.
We are lucky that we seem to have a break in the weather, and we still have some rain showers around, but the sea conditions are beautiful, the water looks clean.
After what we had seen the previous year, the expectations were high. The weather was finally playing ball, and now we would have plenty of time to explore this new place properly. The environment underwater matched the weather outside. Gloomy conditions that are not necessarily bad to hunt, but they do make your life harder in this kind of spearfishing. It was very hard to see the flasher from the surface, and therefore even harder to spot the dark shadows we were looking for. That meant Patrice would have to dive more. In these conditions, you want to spend as much time as possible at a depth where you can actually see the fish when they come to check the flasher. It took us a couple drifts to finally land in the right area, but we now had a very different environment. Don't get me wrong, this is a very lively reef, and the usual suspects were still around. Nice jobfish, different kinds of trevally, and the few coral heads you see are little pockets full of life. But we needed thick skulls of surgeonfish and rainbow runners if we wanted to find the predators. We dove for 4 hours, committing to long drifts, exploring both the drop-off and the shallows. But other than this kingfish that kept its distance, nothing really swam by. And just like that, it was almost dark.
Well, we have about 1 drift left because the sun's going to set just now, and we don't want to stay out in the dark and then go back to the jetty in the dark. So this is our last drift for today.
And now, with just a little bit of light left, the mindset went from looking for one special fish to just securing dinner. The jobfish were still around in the shallows, and Patrice was quick to pull the trigger on a good eating size fish, only to find out Eric had just got a solid 7 kilos jobby. With dinner sorted, we moved fast back to shore, but not on time. The tide dropped way too much. It got pitch black, and now just getting back to the beach suddenly became a bit of a mission.
We are trying to go back home, and there is no tide. We are in very, very thin layer of water on a floor of
Sea urchins.
sea urchins.
Yeah, a bed of sea urchins.
These black spots you see are hundreds of sea urchins that kept getting closer and closer as the tide dropped. Eventually, we could not float anymore, and the fun part started. The last few hundred meters would have to be done walking in barefoot. While it was sketchy to find our way through this minefield of spiky creatures, it was pretty cool to see the amount of life you can find in such little depth. Eventually, we made our way to the jetty. We made it! The catch of the day was prepared quickly, and we went off to bed for an early rise the next day. We finally got the weather we were hoping for. Sunny day with no wind, but the tide was still too low, so we had to drive back to Kizimkazi.
Hello.
Jodarimeno. Everybody calls me Jodarimeno here.
What it means?
Which means Dogtooth tuna.
Beautiful weather, sunny, water is crystal clear, and we're going to the same spot.
Once again, we made our way through this tiny canal that is the only way to get to the outside of the reef. Clear blue skies and improved visibility was all we needed to bring up everyone's spirit before exploring this special place once again.
So looks like conditions improved Kidogo?
Yeah, Kidogo, yeah. The conditions are looking pretty good.
What is Kidogo?
Kidogo is a little... Yeah, beautiful sunny day. The water looks good color, super calm. And the bait fish look like they're a bit higher up than they were yesterday. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, yellowfins jumping around.
Yeah, lots of yellowfin.
Another one jumped there.
Yeah, it's looking nice, looking positive. Now the rest is up to us. I'll see you in the water just now.
The reef was now livelier, which is exactly what we were looking for. The visibility also got much better, but still with the same gloomy vibe that is so typical of this place. Horse-eye jacks and golden trevallies swimming around, and it didn't take long for Eric to pull the trigger on a nice kingfish. We dove on it, hoping a dogtooth tuna would swim by to check the commotion, but nothing came. We now had one of our very favorite eating fish in these waters, and after a few uneventful drifts, we decided to change the plan and move to the blue just before dark. This would be a completely different strategy now. We would commit to one long drift, hoping to find the yellowfin we had seen earlier. For that, we would set up a chum line, which means we would take small bait, in this case sardines, and drop them at a regular pace as they sink in the blue. If you're lucky, that bait will get the attention of a fish that will start eating the pieces and eventually get to the end of the chum line. It can take a long time for a fish to come up though, so Patrice kept diving consistently, looking down the chum and up to the surface, hoping for that Marlin sight we had the previous year. But nothing. Only the crabs seemed to appreciate our fresh sardine. We barely had enough light when I saw one piece of chum disappearing quickly, and I told Patrice to dive. When this happens, it is usually tuna, but I really didn't know what would be on the other side. As we submerged into the darkness, we spotted a yellowfin that I really thought was out of range, but Patrice went for it. The fish suddenly stopped swimming, in typical yellowfin tuna fashion. But we knew we still had a long road ahead. Patrice managed to bleed the fish, and while this might be an intensive view to some, this is by far the most ethical kind of fishing, and you should do this in order to respect your catch, and then go for the stone shot. Which, as you can see, wasn't quite successful. Once again, as we pulled him up, the fish looked like it was done. You really need to keep an eye open when fighting these guys. With this dive, Patrice finally managed to put an end to this fight and land this tuna.
We talked about it, those yellowfins, huh? And then they showed up. He showed up, and was a nice, just at the end of the day, and the chum, a little bit of chum left, and he came, ate all the chum, and we got it on the way up when he was eating the last 2 sardines.
We now had 2 hard-earned fish on the boat, and we were just taking a couple photos before dark when we got greeted by this pod of dolphins that decided to give us a show just behind the boat.
Are you getting this?
Yeah, yeah. That was awesome.
It was time to drive fast back to the bay, where we would take care of our catch.
So we have the representative of the village with us on the boat, and actually came to check, if the size of the fish we were leaving with them was good enough, and we sealed the deal right there between Eric and him.
We took 1 chunk for dinner and climbed to the jetty. The rest of the fish was then taken back to the village. Now we were finally able to give back to them for allowing us to dive in their waters. We enjoyed a great meal and got ready to move to the second part of our trip. The iconic Latham Island, where we would jump on the mothership that had left the day before. This place has given us some of the best blue water hunting days, with giant doggies and epic wildlife encounters. But we had 40 miles between us and this magical place. And yet again, the weather was not on our side.
We are now on our way to Latham Island. Super windy this morning, so I think it's going to be a rough ride. We should expect a crossing of probably over 2 hours. The conditions also in Latham are rough, but we expect to be able to do very good dives, I hope.
It didn't look too bad at the beginning, but as we pushed through, the wind got worse and worse. And after navigating for almost 2 hours, we had to abort.
So, too rough to go to Latham. We are back to the southern tip. Super rough sea. We will try to do some dives here, see what we get.
Underwater, the conditions were actually decent, but the weather kept getting worse and worse. So we had to reassess and make a new plan. The call was made to abort Latham Island from our trip at all. but the mothership was still there, so we'd have to wait and get on the next day. Which ended up being another windy day, and that meant no diving. So we were now fully committed to the last destination of our trip to make it happen.
We're finally on board our yacht and heading to Pemba Island. Now we're gonna have a very nice lunch prepared by our chef.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
This is going great, man. So this one is a kingfish chutney wrapped in cabbage. This one is guacamole. This one is a kingfish sashimi and
Yellowfin.
tuna sashimi.
And there's
This is tuna kebab, kingfish eggs salad, and potato wedges.
well done, chef. So Davi, you can keep on filming, but you will have nothing for you, man.
We enjoyed our self-caught meal and got ready to move.
Our plan is to navigate overnight and move to the northern tip of the island, and hopefully by the time we get there, the weather's sort of settled.
Of course, the weather didn't cooperate once again, and this crossing would mean a sleepless night, as we would navigate through sketchy waters on our way to the final spot. It's around midnight, and we are very close to shore as we prepare to cross to Pemba, and the guys are taking turns because this is quite a sketchy area with lots of nets, traps, debris, so everyone is taking turns just to look out, and it's quite cool. We just saw a sea snake passing by here during the night. What's that? Sea snake, no way! Just on our way to this very special place that I've been hearing about for many years now. Weather has not been on our side, and fishing has been very slow, and we have 2 days to make it happen and hopefully find something special. It ended up taking us over 18 hours to get here, but we were finally dropping anchor in this unique place. The anchorage looked like a painting. A sheltered lagoon on the inside of a beautiful reef, with different kinds of corals, little creatures, and lots of flora as well. A very peaceful place that contrasts to what you see as you move to the drop-off. Here, a raging tidal current pushes all the nutrients through this passage that will be our main spot. We were sitting just on the inside of this channel, so we were less than 10 minutes from the diving area, which is perfect. But the weather was still unstable. That doesn't stop the local fishermen though. Dozens of traditional little dhows can be seen all over the place, which makes for a very scenic view. Most of them hand-lined by themselves, but we also saw some local spearos. It's pretty crazy how they can get such fish with the most rudimental gear, while others join efforts to net for small fish in the shallows. Eric called these guys to get some fresh chum for us to take to the blue. As they negotiated in this very peculiar Swahili language, we spotted a cold front, which delayed our dive yet again. Traveling puts life in perspective, and seeing what these locals go through to catch a fish made us appreciate how lucky we are before heading out once again.
Oh, what's it?
We're gonna dress up here. It's just here, Patrice. 5 minutes.
Okay,
The guns are gonna load everything right here.
okay, perfect.
What day is today, Eric?
Today's our day, David.
Our spot, a pressure point right outside the passage, with a serious drop-off where giant fish had been seen before. It's hard to beat that feeling of jumping in a new place for the first time. That vision when the bubbles clear and you're now exposed to a new environment where everything can swim by. The bait was there, and it didn't take long to find a decent sized doggie, but it stayed just out of range. With just a little bit of light left, we didn't manage to close the gap on anything.
Super lobster.
Those should be fresh, no?
We enjoyed what would be our last meal on this liveaboard and went to bed early. The next day would be the last day of the trip. We woke up to pristine conditions. Just being here in this moment makes all the effort worth it.
Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, David.
That's a pretty nice way to start the day, I guess.
Yeah, beautiful sunrise, super calm conditions. I mean, even the swell on the reef is completely down. Completely down. So yeah, this is the doldrums kind of weather we've been hoping for throughout the trip. And we did have a couple of days, but wow, this is really a blessing today. It's beautiful.
Look who's here.
Whoa! Yeah, are we going?
What do you think?
Yeah, no.
Let's go.
So we got ready once again to make the most of this morning. We knew this place has produced incredible fish, but if there's one thing we can learn from this trip is to take things as they come and really try to enjoy the process regardless of the outcome. Here we were on another dive, on another journey, looking for this one special encounter. To have yet again quite an eventful morning with no signs of what we were looking for. It's hard to put into words why we go through such length for a brief moment. A glimpse that, if you're lucky, will last a few seconds. Is the motivation behind all of this. But at the end of the day, the experience is always way more than that. This little bird came to greet us at the end of our dive. We wondered how many miles this guy has flown, the spectacles he has seen. Like him, we travel to find our catch, but we don't always succeed. You have the epic trips, the ones that keep the dream alive. The motivation behind all of this, with the hopes of seeing nature at its best. And then you have the ones that make you appreciate those moments. They're special because they don't come easy. And like many other things in life, you need to put in a lot of work, and they're just a pinch of luck if you want to succeed. But most of all, you must keep looking for whatever it is that makes your time here worth it.